I told my students I'd be homeless if they didn't stop acting out. Teachers, what's the most controversial way you've dealt with students who have a low attention span? I've been teaching 4th grade for 15 years, and ever since YouTube got more popular, things have become 100 times worse. One day, I was halfway through reading a book about fractions when one of my iPad kid students raised his hand and said, "This is so boring. Can we just play the audiobook instead of reading it?" I wanted to give up and let their parents deal with it, but I couldn't. The district had just announced teacher evaluations to see how we handled students' attention spans, and if mine looked bad, I could be fired. So I decided to try everything. That Monday morning, I walked into class with a bowl of candy. "Okay, guys," I told my class of 10-year-olds, "if you sit still for 10 minutes straight, I'll give you a Hershey's Kiss." For 9 minutes, everything was perfect. For 9 minutes, I thought I had cracked the code. For 9 minutes, life was sweet. Then the 10th minute arrived. Mikey, the kid who always sat in the back, suddenly shouted something ridiculous. The entire class burst out laughing, banging on desks and talking about how badly they wanted their phones. But I wasn't ready to give up. That same day, I went to Best Buy and used the school budget to buy tablets designed to help educate kids. The next morning, I walked in carrying the technology, and the students practically started drooling. "Miss, is that for us?" one of them shouted. "Yes," I laughed. "We're going to start using these to learn." But 2 minutes after handing them out, someone airdropped inappropriate content to every device in the school. I even tried teaching while playing Subway Surfers behind me on the screen, hoping it would keep their attention. Instead, they just watched the game and ignored me completely. At that point, I knew what I had to do. Parent conferences, I scheduled an emergency meeting with every parent in the class. Out of 23 families, only 4 showed up. I explained that constant scrolling was destroying their kids' focus. One parent said their child couldn't wait to go home and spend 8 straight hours on their iPad because it was the only thing that made them happy. Then another mother looked at me and said, maybe the problem wasn't the kids or the iPads, maybe it was my teaching style. Maybe I should consider another career. That night, I stared at my ceiling until 3 in the morning. My evaluation was the next day, and I felt like my entire life depended on it. So the next morning, I did something desperate. I walked into class, closed the textbook, and said, "I'm going to tell you something I shouldn't tell you." The room went completely silent. I told them everything about the evaluation, about losing 40% of my pension, about how my daughter and I could be evicted if I lost my job. I told them I wasn't asking them to suddenly love learning. I was just asking them to help me for one day. Mikey raised his hand. "So basically, our behavior could ruin your life?" "Yes," I admitted. "That's a lot of pressure for 10-year-olds, he said. "I know," I sighed. "I'm desperate." But instead of laughing, one student simply asked, "What do you need us to do?" The next day, during the evaluation, those same kids suddenly acted like the perfect class. They paid attention, raised their hands, and answered every question. After the bell rang, I waited nervously. Then the superintendent walked in and smiled. She told me the whole thing had been staged. The difficult students were placed in my class on purpose to test whether I would give up or keep trying. Because I never stopped trying, they wanted to promote me. 2 years later, my life looks completely different. But I'll never forget the moment I stood in front of my students and realized they had the power to change everything.